You should be.
Head nod. Julie. Okay. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022. We're going to start by indicating who's here. We have Julie Jackson. You're joining us online. Why don't we start with you, Julie?
Hi, Jackson.
Terry Bodden.
Connie Burgess. Nicole McDermott.
Chris Wynn.
Clark Nelson. Rich Nye. David Garrett.
And Karen Winder. Welcome for those of us who are in the room and also listening online. We're excited to have you with us. We're going to start with our admin report. We have one this evening. It's our monthly construction and capital update. So we'll turn the time over to Don and Justin.
We'll turn it over to Justin to lead us out.
Okay. So let's jump right in here. Construction on those, but they have not started. Ordered materials. This is the Hardvixen, no change from last month. Also Rolling Meadows, no change for last month. So slides are still in their placeholders, but no change.
Just of note, supply chain, material order delays, they've placed orders. They are getting a sense of when it's going to come in. We're not seeing any relief on the supply chain yet. We were hoping to see that start to break free during the summer, but it just hasn't. So the contractors are doing their best works. The suppliers are just telling them that it's going to be, in this case, a couple of months out before we start to see the componentry that we need.
Yeah, that first report for Hardvixen was a little scary when they said how long it's going to be before we have the storefront doors. And so we're pushing again to see if we can get that any faster. We wanted to be done before school started. I don't know. We'll see. We're kind of held a little bit captive on the supply chain, from the supply chain, because of the supply chain. So as far as new construction, Westlake, note there, this was about a week ago, 40% of the excavation for footings has been completed. Footings and foundation walls are in progress, which you'll see just a second here, and stormwater design system has begun. So you can see a series of photos. The top one there, looking at what will be the front office, that's looking southeast through the front office and out past on beyond. The other one, lower picture there, is the classroom wing and foundation walls. You can see starting to go up there, which is exciting to see something coming out of the ground, right? You can see some actual form footing foundation walls here, which is nice. Some big, they call mat slab footings. Those are quite large compared to that truck you see there in the background. There's the rebar that goes inside those big mat footings. There's a lot of structural steel in there you can see to hold up our buildings and keep them in place. More digging of the east classroom wing footings there in the lower right-hand corner photo. Oh, that was all the photos. And as far as the change orders this month for Westlake, and actually Skyline and Cypress, there was nothing to report. You saw that in your board packet. Any questions about Westlake before we jump to Skyline? On schedule, making progress. Things are going well right now.
What's our projected date on Westlake?
The
building to be finished?
End of May of 2024. So 2 years out. 2 years and a month. And we'll use every day.
So we'll be there in the fall of 2024.
The expectation is to have students in the building August of 2024.
Okay. Skyline, we'll show you a bunch of photos here in a minute that will make sense, but we've got the synthetic field that's the lacrosse field, practice football, practice soccer, whatever. That field is starting. You'll see some walls being formed for the pedestrian pathway and stairs on the north side of the property of Skyline. Our mechanical and plumbing work is going on inside the building, inside of the athletic building that will open up this summer, so that's exciting. You'll see some new storefront and doors are being installed on the exterior and on the interior. You'll see it in a little bit. I think there's a couple of photos there. Flooring in different areas, locker rooms, weight room, gymnasium, dance room, all going in, which is good news. Site work on the play field we mentioned is going. Fencing continues on both the west and the north property lines. The new pool, it had to be filled, had to be raised up to level, let it sit for 30 days to see if it was going to settle at all, and it did not settle, which is great news. So Our pool is where it's at. They drained it, cleaned it, and now they're filling it back up again, and we're finishing up. The deck around the pool is being poured, so we're real close on the pool, which is exciting. And then we'll start to schedule some training and commissioning you see there, and the mechanical work in the rooms are ongoing. These are brought to us, these lovely photos are not from our drone, but one of our construction services manager, Rich, flies on the weekend. And so this is a very high-end, expensive drone, if you will. He buzzed over there and took those photos, so that's kind of fun to see the football field, softball there. If you notice in that upper corner photo, just below the football field is that long white roofed building. That's our new athletics building and pool on the very, very south end of that, or west end of that, if you will, towards the bottom. But over to the left, you see those dirt fields. That's where that tractor is sitting. That's the new synthetic field we're talking about. Tennis courts are up above. You'll see a photo in a minute up above there. And then the softball is further south. So the fields will be along that north property line, stretching from softball to soccer to tennis, then the football, and then baseball clear up there in the top corner you see. So in that essence, the sports complex will be very nice so that all those fields are kind of tied east-west there on that north property line. In the gymnasium, they're laying the first layer down, the plywood goes down in the gymnasium, so then they can bring in the hardwood, which is on site, and start putting down the actual hardwood flooring, so that's exciting. You see this jumbotron there. Locker rooms to the right there. You see the color in the floor and the benches that were going in there, so that's exciting to see the locker rooms taking shape. Dance room on the left with the flooring in there, and the weight room on the right. They got the rubber flooring around, and they got a little strip of synthetic turf so they can do 10-yard, 5-yard sprints or whatever, just for inside conditioning, which is kind of fun. You can see the windows there. Those windows look out. You're looking out those windows to the north. That's tennis out there, and around the corner is the football stadium. So there's some great natural light. The other thing I think it's nice to notice is if you look at the weight room in particular, there's no lights on, and there's a lot of natural light in this building. And if we've walked at different times this winter and during the day with no lights, it's flooded with natural light, which is really, really quite nice and fun to see. Here's some of our site work. This first picture up there in the upper left is that north fence line, the property line. You see the taller fence, and then if you can see, there's a gentleman there in that green, neon green jacket. That's the pathway down below that. And then if you can see there's also a 6-foot chain link fence down by him that separates the property line and that pathway to the taller fence, which will keep the soccer balls and lacrosse balls, at least the intent is to keep them onto our fields. And you can see the series and the pathway there in between those two fences. The property line fence, the smaller 6-foot fence, will have vertical slats in there and also a screen that will help provide privacy. That's one thing we're really striving to maintain for our 5 homeowners on the north, is to provide them the privacy. This pathway was there, but it didn't go as far west as it will go now, and so we want to make sure we provide a privacy barrier so their backyards, they're not seeing kids or people walking dogs or whatever at night in their backyard, if you will. So striving to be a good neighbor. And then the picture on the lower right-hand corner is just it's that new field again with the drainage. It's with that black wrapped up, they call it a burrito. It's the drainage system's inside of there so it can get water off the field when we do get moisture. Again, upper picture is we're actually looking west, and you can see where the pathway will be, right here where that piece of equipment's on, the wall to the left, the higher fence to the left to keep the balls onto the field, which is to the left, and then to the right is actually a little bit of planting, and then you see another fence there. Again, we're trying to follow we're following the property line there with the little mow strip and the 6-foot fence. So in some instances, like this one right here, we're actually 8 or 9 feet of privacy between us and the neighbors, because you see the difference between the fence and then the earth there. The lower picture is looking east, and we're on the pathway that's been poured. And again, fields to the right, property line to the left, and then the neighbors to the north down below there on the left side. So it'll be a nice pathway, providing security. That was one of the big components that we really worked on, was to have security so that pathway can be active at all hours. People can come and go through that community, walking dogs or going to school or whatever, but not beyond the field of play with the kids during the school day hours. So I think we've reached a good compromise there. Our north property line utilities is just a constant struggle. We're working with our utility companies. You see the orange in the ground. We need to get that relocated. That's causing us much angst right now. Moving on quickly, to the right there is the west property line, and we're working there with, you can see the new wall will go in. That's the base course, and then there'll be a 6-foot wall stand on top of that. The chain link fence that's temporary there on the left is just to keep all of our neighbors along there, give them secure backyards for their dogs and kids and whatever, but that will go away obviously, and they'll have a nice new earth wall there with the concrete blocks, and our parking lot will be on the right-hand side. These are the stairs coming down. This is looking south up the hill and then towards soccer and lacrosse fields. But these are those steps. If you've ever walked down that pathway between from the Skyline property down through the goalie and to the north, we'll have new steps in there, and they're quite large footings. And that is the end of the Skyline. Again, no change on the Skyline project. Cypress, do you want to talk to him?
Yeah. I'm not sure my pictures are going to be as exciting as Justin's. I actually started getting picture envy as we were going. Oh no, technology. Ben? Oh, look, in the speaker.
I think that's on.
Those are really exciting pictures.
I almost want something on my phone that sounds like hold music for these technology interruptions.
You can see it still, right, Julie?
I can see it, yep.
Is it just in the boardroom that we can't see it?
Oh,
There
we go.
we're back up. Okay.
Nobody move. Nobody breathe.
Don't touch anything.
Okay. Most of what's happening at Cypress is in preparation for wall construction. So footings, foundations are still being pursued aggressively. The casting slabs for the walls are in. They're forming the walls up so they can pour those. We're still working on the geoenergy loops, and so they're out drilling all of those. And they're also doing different site drainage. So for us, this is the period where if we get literally a good foundation, we're off to a good start and we can get a good building. So that's a lot of what you're going to see. A lot of concrete on site today. And again, these are the casting slabs. You're starting to see outlines of walls and windows where we'll be putting, again, when there's electrical in this wall, we are running the electrical conduit in the wall today, and we're going to pour it in place. And so very detailed measurements. People don't get that when we're making this wall on the ground, we're measuring down to the 16th of an inch to make sure we get it right, including all of the windows and things of that nature. So if you go out on site, there's a lot of folks spending a lot of time looking at this stuff on the ground, because if we get it wrong, we'll be in challenge. And so again, a lot of rebar, a lot of connecting points, a lot of steel going into these walls, as well as just the background kind of utility work, if you will, happening in the walls. We have a 300-ton crane on site, so there's some substantial lifting capability as we go into these sections of wall. Remember, as we get into the auditorium section, I think our tallest wall segment is 74 feet tall. That's my rough memory, but that's a really tall wall that we're going to crane and put into place. And it's our thickest wall at the base as well. I think it's 16, 18 inches thick that we're going to tip up, and that will be part of the auditorium. So might be boring stuff to you, super exciting to us, including, the crane paths. There's a lot of thought that's gone into where the cranes are going to go, so they get the walls in place, and these are heavy duty, so they'll hold all of this weight when we tip it up. The last thing we want to see is a several $1 million insurance claim. Won't go to us, it'll go to the contractor if the crane tips over. So a lot of prep going in here, foundation walls and columns being formed up in the pool area, dealing with the site grading as we go. Orchestra pit and some of the underground electrical. You've seen these images showing this before. It's just a continuation. Then the CTE side up on the, I'm going to call it the southwesternmost benches going in, and that sits at pretty much second level of the building as we work with grade up the site. No change orders on this project this month as well. Again, disappointed I have photo envy. Justin's were much more entertaining.
I think the crane is worth it.
The crane, thank you, Nicole.
I went past today, the crane is up, like you can see it from the road, it's really cool.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Big stuff going on up there. The next is a slide that we wanted to address. There were some questions that may be surfacing for what we call our historic summer ratification or summer purchase memorandum that's in your packet. One of the challenges that we have every year is that summer construction is very fast-paced. Designs complete, orders have to go in, and the board meets less frequently during the summer. And so what we ask for is a memorandum that basically is acknowledgement that we'll need to make some purchases, and that if the purchases don't align themselves with a board meeting, we'll bring those purchases back for ratification. This summer, of special interest to us are the airflow improvement projects that are part of our federal monies. So the ESSER 3 grants, if you remember last August, you provided or approved a list of projects that we would start. And those will start rolling off the design table in the next 2 weeks, and will continue at a pretty good pace over the next month. And so what we would like, we often fear that as these go in and out of bid, that they might not align themselves, and if we have to wait a month, that kind of puts us behind the 8 ball to complete projects, or at least start them in the summer months. And so, again, lead time is our concern. We often buy even classroom furniture. We'll get late registration information, and we'll realize, oh, we have to furnish a relo or a classroom, and so there's a quick turnaround on some of our purchases. And so that's the background of the memorandum. It's really a concept that we prefer not to bring things back for ratification, but if something looks like it needs to come in and we need to get it done, we approach the superintendent through purchasing and talk about what the deadlines are, that we followed all of the purchasing guidelines, but to get this to us in time, we need to purchase before a board meeting, and then we bring it back as a ratification with an explanation letter to the next board meeting. So that's just an explanation of that letter that always hits your tables in April or May of the year.
Any questions from the board for Don or Justin on any of the projects or summer overview? Nope. Julie, any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We really do appreciate these monthly updates, and I think our public does too. Start to take shape.
Westlake as well, right? Westlake.
Oh, and Westlake as well, yes. I can't forget Westlake. I'm a Mustang, so there we go. All right, so board, we do have need of an executive session this evening for the purpose of negotiations. So first of all, I need a motion to go into executive session for that purpose.
I'll motion that we adjourn to executive session for the purpose of negotiations.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the table to go into executive session for the purpose of negotiations. This is a roll call vote, so we'll start with Julie and then head to Terry, a one-by-one vote.
I
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion carries unanimously, and we will now adjourn to our